I'm not arrogant. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do, and in every job that I've worked, whether it was as an interim, as an assistant, as a head coach or a manager, whatever you want to call it, relative to the group I've worked with, I've been successful.
Yeah, like we got Lego to come.
Chelsea Football Club have been rocked by major breaking news as manager Liam Rosenior officially resigned this morning following a crushing 3-0 defeat to Brighton and Hove Albion FC. The result proved to be the tipping point in what has been a turbulent period for the Blues, with pressure mounting from fans, pundits, and the club's hierarchy. The defeat exposed serious weaknesses within Chelsea FC, particularly in defence and overall organisation. Brighton dominated the match from start to finish, leaving Chelsea looking disjointed and lacking confidence. For many supporters, this performance was simply unacceptable for a club of Chelsea's stature, and calls for change grew louder immediately after the final whistle. Rosenior's resignation, while sudden, may not come as a complete surprise. Reports suggest that tensions have been building behind the scenes, with concerns over tactics, player management, and inconsistent results. Despite efforts to turn things around, the situation appeared to spiral beyond control, ultimately leading to his decision to step down. For the players, this moment marks a critical turning point. A manager's departure often brings a shift in energy, and now the squad must regroup quickly. Senior players will need to step up and provide leadership, while younger talents have an opportunity to prove themselves under new guidance. Attention now turns to what comes next for Chelsea. The club's leadership faces a crucial decision in appointing a new manager who can restore stability, rebuild confidence, and get the team back on track. Fans will be watching closely, hoping for a swift and effective response to this crisis. This is more than just a managerial change, it's a defining moment in Chelsea's season. Whether this leads to a fresh start or deeper struggles remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The spotlight is firmly on Stamford Bridge as the Blues look to recover from this major setback.
Man City. You know, Craig's saying a bad run of results. Sometimes you can get a bad run of results, but things go against you. This team's getting worse. I said against City, it was men against boys. Then the following week, it was Manchester United last weekend, and they were awful again. You get beat 1-0 against a depleted Manchester United side. And then today against Brighton away, it was men against boys again. And some people will say, well, he changed the system. You know, he played 3 at the back. You know, sometimes when you change the system, it gives everybody a little bit of a lift.
Right.
You know, you're in a different spot, you kind of something to grab onto. This team looked as though it wasn't interested. This team looks as though, no matter what he tells them, the manager, Liam Rosenior, it doesn't matter, because they've chopped it. They absolutely looked as though in the first
So
half,
the old cliche that he's lost the changing room?
Yeah, 100%. The first half, for anybody connected with Chelsea, was embarrassing. This was as if they were away at Barcelona or Bayern Munich. But this team is absolutely in disarray completely.
Chelsea, can I just bring you Rosenior's quotes? Yeah. This is what Rosenior had to say after the game. Of course, he said a lot of...
You want to strip it all down. It was not about tactical, means it wasn't me.
Right.
Wasn't. And I'm not arguing about desire and grit and determination and attitude. And we can discuss all of that. Because they were second to every ball, as Stevie said. But when he says it's not about tactics, he's basically absolving himself of any responsibility. How can you, when you're in a dressing room, Stevie's coached, when you're in and we've all played, so we know, when you're in a dressing room, when you're in a team, you need to have the bulk of the players on board. You're always going to have a couple. You're always going to have some, but you need to have the bulk on board if you're going to stand a chance. But when you're coming out with the rhetoric he's been coming out with since day dot, when you're coming out and suspending World Cup winners for innocuous comments and basically throwing them under the bus, when every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to think about moving clubs now and again, that's never changed and it never will. Agents are behind the scenes pilfering for deals every day of the week. But yet he felt the need, him and his club, to out this player publicly and drag him through the coals. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then he's had to go back to him for a couple of games, Enzo Fernandez that is, and then we wonder why all the other players are sort of half-cocked and half-hearted and playing the way they are. You can't rubbish a dressing room like that of experienced players. Maybe you could get away with it with some kids. You can't rubbish a dressing room like that and then expect results.
But surely, is there not professional pride here from the players on the pitch?
Well, that's another
Stuff
story.
The manager.
It's
Stuff what he's been doing.
Different. When you start sounding like you don't know what you're talking about, then the level drops. You know, you had us talking about, there are certain things in football that never change, as Craig said. And one of the classics is, you know, in training, if the manager's not there, the level drops. Now, you can try and analyse that all you like. It's just one of those facts of life in football. And it's the same thing when, over a period of time, just very slowly and steadily, the players begin to realise this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And so they don't listen, and they're not motivated by him. And then you end up with these types of performances. And that's exactly where they are. They don't trust what he says, they don't think he knows what he's doing, and it's showing itself on the field.
Now, our boss is not here at the moment, I believe.
Right, so what, this is going to be a rubbish show? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, no, but
another one.
Well, what I'm saying is, if your boss, and anybody's boss, is basically asking people to do things, and the bulk of them know it's nonsense, you're not taking on to that stage. Whatever role of work that is, you're not going out there and then doing this amazing job because you just think it's crap.
Right.
And so therefore you're not, subconsciously you go out and you go, what's the point? And whether that's right or wrong, look, we know we'll get this double FA Cup semi-final weekend coming up. They're playing. But how can you look at these results and performances and allow this manager to continue into this weekend, never mind beyond that?
So you'd sack him tonight?
I do not see any point in keeping Liam Rosenior in this role when it's going down, spiralling downhill as fast as it is. I just don't see any point. What's the chances of them getting in the top five?
Saturday,
Leeds, they're playing Leeds in the weekend, and Leeds have almost got themselves safe in the Premier League. Leeds have just been to Man United and won. They won again at the weekend. They can sense an FA Cup final. They can sense a Chelsea that are deflated. And they are a very well organised side, and as we've talked about on the show, one of the reasons they're staying up, because they're the polar opposite to Chelsea. They fight like hell, and they battle. So are you going to allow your season, which is basically almost over in terms of the league? I mean, if you're talking about the Europa League, that's another thing, but we were talking Champions League here. Are you going to allow the Champions League to be gone, and then a manager to take them in to an FA Cup set, a huge game where they're supposed to be favourites at the weekend, with a manager who's shown himself to be clearly out his depth? How can you do that?
Go on, Frank.